All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar from NPS1 Nationwide Payment Systems. And today we have a special guest joining us, our NCR Counterpoint Specialist, Alex Overly. And Alec has helped us get Counterpoint installed in a number of businesses. And we're going to talk about what type of businesses work with NCR Counterpoint. We're going to talk about who it's perfect for. We'll even tell you who it's not for. And we're going to get into all of that right now on the NPS1 webinar series. So thank you everybody for joining. And if you're listening live, thank you. You can always ask a question and we'll answer those questions as we go through. And also for those who are watching the replay, and when you're done with the replay, if you want to book an appointment, all you have to do is you're going to be on nationwidepaymentsystems.com. Go to book a strategy call, and we'll schedule an appointment that you're going to hear all about our process today. So, welcome to the webinar, Alec.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alan.
So, let's talk about you know, the type of businesses that are using Counterpoint today. We have a nice little list on the bottom of this slide that everybody's looking at, but let's talk about that. And like volume wise, these are businesses that are doing, let's say, on the low side, 250 to $300,000 up into the millions of dollars a month.
Yeah, that's right. Typically, yeah, that's kind of the low point, the 250 to 300,000 on the processing side, all the way up to, we have merchants doing $50 million a year. So, big range. But yeah, once they hit that threshold, it's a pretty good fit. And yeah, you've got it laid out pretty well with some of the industries that work well. And I think if we look at counterpoint installations as a whole throughout the US, lawn and garden centers, nurseries are definitely the largest segment. Um, and we'll get into some of the fine details about what makes counterpoint a good fit in that environment. But yeah, that's probably the biggest, those feed stores, lawn and garden centers, plant nurseries. We do a lot in sporting goods, liquor stores, multi-location businesses, and truly where Counterpoint shines, and again, we're going to dive a little bit deeper, is inventory management. So multi-location merchants that had a lot of inventory that they need to track, Counterpoint's a pretty good fit.
Yeah, and the thing with the inventory is that it live updates to your website, and there's a number of different website products that can work with this. And today, that's a big thing for businesses when even if you're a single location or you only have two or three locations, is having your point of sale inventory linked up to your website so that you can effectively deliver e-commerce to your customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the struggles that a lot of retailers have is they've got an e-commerce site, but it's not connected to their POS. And if they update a price, they've got to do it in both locations. They've got to update inventory manually, and it's just a really painstaking process to keep both systems up to date. And yeah, our integration gives you one system to manage. Everything's done in Counterpoint, price changes, inventory, it's all done in one spot. And then that would then flow out to the website, and then orders would come back into Counterpoint to be fulfilled.
Yeah, so let's get into, so a lot of times people are coming to us for a counterpoint because they're using old QuickBooks point of sale and they need to get off that. And they've tried some other cloud systems. But the main thing that they find is when they're dealing with thousands of inventory items, and a lot of these locations that we're talking about have, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, or even 100,000 inventory items.
Yeah, and there's no limit in Counterpoint. So that's, something that kind of sets us apart from the Clovers of the world is there's no cap. So we have merchants with a million items in their database. So there's no cap. You can have as many as you need to. So that's something that kind of sets us apart.
Yeah, and then the other thing, a couple of other things that make Counterpoint unique before we dive into features is that licenses are per device versus per user because there's a lot of software out there that we've run into and people are paying for, 1,000 licenses because they have 1,000 employees using the system, or they're paying for 500 licenses and they only really need, let's say, 50 or 100 licenses.
Yeah, and it can be a huge savings from those other tools. What else is kind of unique too is, a merchant might have 20 computers or 20 machines that they need the software on. Some of those only use it a couple times a week, maybe for receiving new stock in. So Counterpoint is will allow you to do it based on concurrent logins. So we could have it on 20 machines, but if only 10 of those are actively using the software at the same time, they might only need 10 licenses versus the 20 computers that they own and have the software installed on.
Yeah, it's super important that how when you look at it that it's able to scale like that. Another thing people always ask is, what's the cost? What's the cost? And I tell them, I go, we have to go through the process with you to develop what it's going to cost to install this system. Because we've done installs that are like around 20,000, and then we've done installs that are 100,000 or more, because that just dependent on, how many computers you're buying and things like that, or if we're using existing equipment, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the things that we do is we'll have a quote planner call with the merchant, and we'll find out do they have any equipment they might be able to reuse. And our goal is to try to make it as economical as possible. And if there's stuff that they have that is compatible, let's use it. So yeah, we do every quote custom to each merchant to make sure that we're not selling them stuff they don't need and only including the components that they do need.
Yeah, so that's super important to understand that there's a lot of information that goes into this. And the other thing we get asked about a lot is we'll get contacted by merchants and they'll say, "Oh, well, we bought Counterpoint from XYZ reseller. They really don't sell Counterpoint. They don't know how to program Counterpoint. So how can you help us, with our Counterpoint?" And we have taken that over, and there's like a procedure that needs to be done, and we've done a few of those, and gotten people what they needed some custom programming, they needed some programming in general that wasn't so custom, but the person who they were working with didn't really work with Counterpoint.
Yeah, and we've been doing this for 30 years. So we've got a great team with a track record of providing great support. So a lot of, merchants are buying Counterpoint from someone and they're just not happy with the service they're getting. And there is a process, like you said, Alan, to get that moved over. But yeah, I think we've got a great track record of providing that level of support that not only other Counterpoint providers are providing, but also other systems like Clover or other systems where you're calling someone and it could be, overseas and it's difficult to get support when you need it. Our support's all based here out of the States. We get to know you and, the business problems that you might be experiencing, and we're able to kind of craft a solution and support to help you meet those goals.
So now let's dive into like the Counterpoint ecosystem, which is up on the screen, and let's talk about like how this all works, because people will come to us like with you know, like one store that me and Alex visited, and they needed to do service, they had firearms, they wanted to track serial numbers, they needed all kinds of different reports. So let's dive in and talk about each one of these. From where do you want to start, Alec?
We can start. Yeah, let's start at service point, upper left.
Okay.
So, what's unique about Counterpoint, you kind of hit on this a little bit, Alan, is that it's really customizable. Most POS systems are kind of locked down, and you don't have the ability to go in and make customizations that are going to allow the software to function in a different way. And I think that is shown by some of the industries that we work in. It's kind of all over the map, and that is because Counterpoint is customizable. So we've got quite a few clients that have a service component. So maybe it's an aftermarket auto supply store and they sell, truck bed liners or lift gates, and there's a service or an installation component for those. There's an enhancement to Counterpoint called Service Point, and it allows for appointment scheduling, time tracking for labor or jobs that are being completed. So it's a really good add-on for those businesses that have a heavy service component with installations or repairs or things like that.
Yeah. We've been asked about boat repair, golf cart repair,
Yeah.
all kinds of different repairs. So let's talk about, firearms sales because that's also very unique and there's a lot of definitely sporting goods stores that sell firearms.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be tedious because there's, the bound book component that has to be updated for, registering firearms. There's an enhancement to Counterpoint that allows Counterpoint to send that sales information and the serial number that was sold and who it was sold to the bound book. Tools like Fastbound, if you're in that industry, that's probably the biggest provider for that electronic bound book. And we have an integration to that. So again, when things are received in Counterpoint, new firearms, or when they're sold, that data gets automatically funneled out to that bound book.
Let's talk about advanced inventory.
Yeah, unlimited inventory. I highlighted this earlier. There's no cap on the number of items. We can track serial numbers. We talked about that with firearms. Inventory transfers. Counterpoint has a tool called Transfer Advice. It allows the system to tell you where you should transfer inventory based on historical sales data, minimum and maximum stocking levels. Really good tool. Um, and Counterpoint allows you to track inventory in a variety of ways. For apparel stores, it's important that they can, what we call gridded items, where an item is sold in different sizes or colors, but it's all at the core the same product, but there's different variants. That's something that we do really well. Centralized purchasing, so from a global standpoint, if it's a multi-location retailer, they can do the purchasing and transfers from a corporate level, instead of relying on each individual location to have to be responsible for those types of orders. So I would say inventory is probably Counterpoint's strongest suit in what it's able to do from that standpoint.
Yeah, because if you have to transfer items from one store to another, or let's say you have a warehouse and you need to transfer from the warehouse to the store, it can do all of that. And here's
Yeah.
one of the features like that I really like is the advanced pricing. And advanced pricing is the six price levels you can do for each item. So dive into that a little bit because I think this is something that a lot of businesses don't have access to and they're doing it manually.
Yeah, and it leaves the door open for mistakes to happen, too much of a discount being applied. So, yeah, advanced pricing allows you to have up to six different price levels for a single item. What industries and how this kind of comes into play in practice is wholesale merchants, lawn and garden centers that are selling to landscapers or contractors. They may have preferred pricing where they're not going to pay the same price as like a regular retail customer would pay. So Counterpoint has something called contract pricing, and it assigns a price level specific to each customer. So when they come in and they purchase that bag of mulch, they're going to get a different price than what I would get if I came in and bought that bag of mulch. And again, there's six different price levels, so that they have a lot of flexibility in that, and it's done automatically. They just scan the barcode, and it knows based on who the customer is what price level to assign to that customer.
Right. So it can be assigned as a discount, or like they get 10% off or whatever that is. Or it could be assigned like we have some feed stores and they want the feed to be like 10 or 20% over cost. And it'll do that too.
Yeah, there's a pricing utility that'll allow you could even do it categorically. Like all my hay is going to be 10% above cost, but other supplies might be, 30% above cost. So you have flexibility based on the item level. You could do it categorically. There's a lot of cool features from that standpoint.
Yeah, and it's all customizable to what you need. Someone might want like one price in store, one price for wholesalers, and then maybe they have a different price completely on the internet because they
Yeah.
have to account for, and packaging and things like that. Maybe there's a different price for that. So they can assign all of those prices. And
Exactly.
let's talk about support because people ask about support all the time, and we've run into people who have existing systems, and they'll say, "Oh, we have to buy blocks of time from somebody," and then so we have to be really careful about support. But let's talk about the support that we're providing through our relationship.
Yeah, I touched on this a little bit earlier. It's all based here out of the States. We have two physical locations here in the States. We have one in Michigan, which is where I'm based out of, and we have one in Florida as well. What's unique, Alan, you talked about the blocks of hours. That was kind of a common way that support was provided. They'd sell you 20 hours of support, and then you had to carefully use that throughout the year because you didn't want to go over and have to purchase another block before the end of the year. So we said, let's do an unlimited plan. The reason we did that was we want our clients to call us when they have questions or they need help with things because we want them to use Counterpoint to its capabilities and get the most return on their investment that they made in Counterpoint. So it's unlimited. They can call as much as they need to. What else is kind of unique about our support contract is that it also includes updates. So as new versions are released, they call, say, hey, we'd like this new version. We'll go ahead and provide that upgrade included in the support contract that they have with us.
Yeah, so that can be a big savings to companies, and especially let's say you get a new employee and they need to get trained or have questions about certain things, that can all be answered over the phone without
Yeah,
incurring a huge expense.
absolutely.
And we touched about e-commerce, so how that worked, and gift and loyalty programs, are huge for retailers to keep people coming back. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's available out of the box. So Counterpoint out of the box has a gift card feature. It has a customer loyalty feature. On the gift card side, it's a little bit unique in that Counterpoint stores the gift cards. So at any point, the merchant could look at a gift card report and it's going to show them their outstanding liabilities for gift cards in Counterpoint. So what's outstanding? A, a customer could come in and say, hey, what's my balance on this card? They can check the balance right there. There's no fees to the merchant to redeem gift cards, to check balances, because it's all processed in Counterpoint. It's not, a third party stored value card provider. It's all in Counterpoint, which is really nice. And then on the loyalty side, it's points based. So you define how many points you want your customers to earn per dollar they spend, and then how many points are equal to a dollar redeemed. What's nice about this is you can also define, I don't want to allow loyalty point accrual on gift card sales. And you can pick and choose if there's items that you don't want eligible for receiving loyalty points, and then how they're redeemed. you can put a threshold in place. Like, I don't want them to be able to redeem points unless they're redeeming X number of points. And what's cool is Counterpoint will show on the point of sale when a customer has met the threshold where they could redeem points, and it says this customer has loyalty points available for redemption. Would you like to redeem them? And then they would then ask the customer, hey, do you want to cash in some loyalty points? And it prints the balance on the receipt too. So the customers are always informed as to what their current points balance is.
Awesome. And then we talk a little bit about reporting.
Yeah, I mean, there's over 100 reports in Counterpoint covering anything from, customer reports like aging or who are my top customers based on profit dollars over the past year. There's inventory reports, what's my current on-hand inventory cost? Um, what's my aging so that they can view what items have been in their system for a long time and haven't sold so they can mark them down, move them out. There's turn rate reports, a lot of reports, and then sales history, of course. What's cool is most of the reports can be filtered and tweaked so that you can get really granular with the data that you're reporting on. Once you've defined, I love how this report reads. This is a great report. You can rename that report with those filters to something that makes sense to you. And then you can save that right there on the home screen. So every time you want to run that report, you press the button and it launches that report filtered and tweaked the way that you want to view that report, which is really cool.
Let's talk and it also, when your customer comes in, you can save their information so that when they come in, you kind of know what type of things that they're buying from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sales history is stored. It's accessible from the point of sale. So maybe they forgot what color or what size they purchased the last time, or a lawn and garden center. What plants did I purchase last spring? I don't remember what they were. That can be looked up. And there's also, and I don't think you have it on here, but there's an integrated email marketing component as well that will allow you to send targeted emails to your customers based on their purchase history. So in pet stores, for instance, maybe I'm a cat owner and I don't want to get emails about dog food sales. So it allows them to segment their marketing to ensure that they're sending applicable emails to customers based on their purchase history inside Counterpoint.
Yeah, that's really unique because you can't get filtering like that just from MailChimp or something.
Yeah.
Let's touch on training a little bit. So training is both in person or virtual, and there's also video library that they can go to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And during the quote planner call that I referenced earlier, we'll ask, are you pretty proficient? Are you IT savvy? Would you be comfortable with the videos? And, 9 times out of 10, the video training works great. There are instances, and they're like, I don't learn well that way. I'd love to have some one-on-one training. That's another option that we can provide. We can even come on site for the go live. And a lot of merchants like this because it gives them a sense of comfort knowing that someone's there on the day that they go live. So if anything happens, they've got some coverage. And while we're on site, we're also doing some more kind of one-on-one training for, advanced inventory functions, purchasing, receiving, and things like that.
Okay, let's dive in a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about the merchant account is included, and that's kind of how we can give the unlimited support because we're also providing the merchant services, and a lot of people ask us about pricing for that also. So we support, cost plus, interchange, pass-through pricing, dual price, where otherwise referred to as cash discount 0%. And the equipment that we use all takes Apple Pay, Google Wallet, Tap to Pay, and we also support EBT. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and HSA cards too. So
Oh,
if it's a health food store or a place like that that has items that are eligible for HSA, we can support those too.
okay. So that's pretty much like everything. If you watch this and you're on LinkedIn today, you can comment. We can send you over um, this this PDF that we have. I mean, that's a picture on the right of the terminal. Here's a couple of places, the Hay Exchange and Robbie's Feed Store in Miami, which is kind of like a feed store, a lawn and garden center, and some sporting goods all in one place. And so we support many businesses like that, and we support businesses all over the United States. And let's talk a little bit before we wrap it up. So basically, if you're watching this video and then you like what you see and you want to book an appointment, you would come to nationwidepaymentsystems.com, do a strategy call. We go over everything that you want to tell us. Then we're going to book a call with Alec, a Zoom meeting, and then we're going to at that Zoom meeting we're going to do a discovery call, and then the next step would be we're going to give you a quote based on kind of what you told us so you can understand the financial aspects of what you're going to have to do. And let's talk a little bit about financing when we're talking about buying a system like this.
Yeah, there's financing options available, and what we found is, cash flow is great. So if you're able to, put minimal down and, just have a set number that you're comfortable with monthly, it allows you to implement Counterpoint, start reaping the benefits of Counterpoint. Like I think one of those testimonials that you shared, saving like 30 grand a month.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, in a lot of cases, there's can be significant savings, and it easily offsets what the financing numbers are. And there's no penalty to pay it off early too. So if you have a couple good months and you say, I just want to pay this off, you can. And what's unique about Counterpoint too, Alan, is that you buy it, you own it, it's yours. There's no monthly SaaS fees. So it's kind of unique in what the business landscape looks like today, where most POS systems, are SaaS based. Counterpoint's unique from that standpoint.
Right. And the thing is with like saving money, we saved clients. We had a client, that one client that we put up on the screen, the feed store, they said they went on the dual pricing plan, and there's some customers that they don't charge the fee to, which is also configured into Counterpoint. And let's talk a little bit about the AR, the accounts receivable. Touch on that a little bit because that's another part of people's businesses too, that this really helps them run.
Yeah, and I think if we look at our client base of 200 plus merchants, if I had to guess, I would say 60% or so are using accounts receivable. So Counterpoint has a built-in accounts receivable module, and it allows you to have customers set up with AR accounts, and you can define a credit limit, what terms you want for those customers. They can come in, make purchases on account, and then on a monthly basis, generate statements to send to the merchants. They make payments. We pay down that balance in Counterpoint. There's, like I said, with the reporting, there's customer aging reports, so you can identify slow paying customers.
And there's
Um,
card on file, so you can
yeah, card on
charge
file
them more.
too.
Right.
Yeah, yep.
For your corporate clientele. There's card on file. We've had even smaller type merchants where we save them $2,000 a month because a lot of times people have these systems in there and they don't realize how much they're paying for point of sale, for their point of sale and how much money they're spending on their merchant account. So we do a full analysis, and it's not just like, okay, we want to sell you Counterpoint. We want to help you process your payments. We want to do that in a way that's going to maximize the savings for the business. We're going to figure out which pricing plan you need to be on. Is dual pricing going to work for you or not work for you? So, but we're going to maximize, your savings and help you pay for the system. In most cases, we find that we're able to save people enough money that it enough money either based on between a few things. One, the cost of the system, the savings on their merchant account, and the savings on support and licenses. And when you take all of that into account, there's a big savings. And also being able to finance it can also help businesses because a lot of business owners want to hold on to their cash, and the financing, allows you to get a $1 buyout, or like Alex said, pay it off early. So that's basic, so the sales process, we'll go through it. We do you book a call, we make a discovery call, we give you a quote. Then once we figure out like what modules you need into the system, then we do a demo and then answer all your questions. And then when you're ready to go, that's when the sign up process starts. And from sign up to install, what is like the usual like time period that happens in, Alec?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with 6 weeks usually from start to finish. During that time, it's totally white glove. I mean, we walk the merchant through the process. One of the first things we do is we have a client interview, and it's about 2 hours long. We ask a boatload of questions about the business. How do you want your buttons on the point of sale to look? What levels of access do you want employees to have? What reporting is most important to you? And then we build the database for them. We do things like data conversion, the training, all that is what we're doing in that 6 week process. But yeah, it's usually about 6 weeks. We've done it sooner, like 4 weeks. But yeah, it's usually like 4 to 8 weeks is the sweet spot.
And then what about like when we take over somebody's business? Like what's usually like the time frame? You already have Counterpoint in your business, and now you're looking for uh you need a new vendor because you're not getting what you want from your current vendor.
Yeah, so Counterpoint is developed by the NCR Corporation. So they manufacture the software, they release updates to the software, and then there's a dealer network that sells it, implements it, and provides ongoing support. So if you're unhappy with your current vendor, you'd have to reach out to NCR and let them know that you're unhappy. I think they want to know, they don't want people leaving Counterpoint because the service provider that they have isn't doing a great job of supporting them. So reach out to them. They'll make sure that there's no outstanding invoices with the current vendor that you're with, and then they'll issue a reassignment. So usually, I would say within 2 weeks or so, you can work through that whole process and get reassigned. And then we do a thorough onboarding when merchants get moved over and, again, ask a lot of questions and so that we can best support them.
So if you come to the Nationwide Payment Systems website, we have a solutions page. You come to our solutions page, you'll see the NCR Counterpoint. Click on here. We go through everything on the what we do. Boom, boom, boom. And then you can apply, or you can also come up here, book a strategy call, and get a strategy call set up. And that's how you do it. You can also go to the webinar page. On the webinar page, you can scroll down and you can find more webinars that we have. And the NCR Counterpoint one is right here. So that's where you can find other webinars that we offer about the different products that we have at Nationwide Payment Systems. And you can get all the information you want about us. You can come to our insights and go to our payment blogs and you could search NCR Counterpoint right here, and you can find a bunch of different blog articles about NCR Counterpoint or answer questions about credit card processing. We have a pretty extensive blog. So thank you to everybody who joined us today on the webinar. Again, you can visit us. If you send us a message on LinkedIn, we'll send you over the PDF. And thank you to Alec for joining us today on the NCR Counterpoint webinar. So thank you very much, and everybody have a great day. I didn't see any questions that anybody was asking. So if you do have questions, reach out and we'll answer your questions or book a demo, and we can take care of anything that you want to find out about Counterpoint or credit card processing. Thank you very much for joining us on the webinar, and everybody have a great day.